Here we are again.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. If it's Tuesday, it must be
KHOP
a name for this now. KHOP88, right?
You bet. And so, Jason, you're still in Madison. Are you getting ready for the cyclone?
Yeah, it's coming down out there right now. It's raining really hard. It's we're supposed to get all this rain, and I'm just hopeful that my basement stays dry. What is it like out there in Northern California?
We have a nice, cool day, 88, sunny, and the social justice activists are on the streets still, and the kids are graduating via Zoom.
Yeah, that's true. Graduation is going on right now. Let's welcome in our guest. We've managed to keep this going now. This is our fourth week. We are joined today from South Minneapolis by Deidre Schmidt. Deidre, welcome.
It's so great to join you guys. This is a really fun idea. I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's this thing is going to be driven by everyone we have on here. So it's great to have people join us. We're doing interesting things. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to right now. You are the CEO and president of Common Bond Enterprises?
Common Bond Communities.
Common Bond Communities.
Yeah, so I run a nonprofit organization that serves Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. We provide affordable housing, rental housing, to folks in all sorts of stages of life and stages of need. And we also provide social services to those same folks to the extent that they need them.
And that's, I mean, your name came across my desk maybe a year or two ago when you appeared in a story a reporter of mine was writing in Madison, Wisconsin about affordable housing. So
Right.
you have a reach that extends outside of the state. How big?
Exactly. So we serve about 13,000 people a day now. And you know, that project that I think was the subject of the story that you were working on it's just complete now, Jason. And yeah, so 54 units just west of downtown Madison are available now for seniors who have low incomes in the Madison area. And that's just an example of the kind of work we do all across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. All sorts of communities. Our kind of center of gravity is here in the Twin Cities, but you know, communities like Marshalltown, Iowa, and you know, Minneapolis, Minnesota. We work throughout all different sorts of communities and provide housing for seniors, like that deal that you're aware of. Folks who are coming out of long-term homelessness and need supportive housing, you know, 24/7, really intensive support. But also, you know, some what we would call naturally occurring or unsubsidized, unregulated affordable housing that's just for the workforce that all of our communities, you know, really depend on.
So when did you get involved in this important work?
I graduated from the University of Minnesota with an international relations diplomacy degree. So of course I got into affordable housing, right? I had an internship and landed at a local nonprofit organization that now has gone on to do work all around the country. I kind of fell into the work, and I fell into it and I fell in love with it because it really, I was kind of captured by the complexity of the work, the fact that so many different people with so many different agendas and so many different skill sets really had to come together to make a single property a reality, a single vision a reality. And I never left after that.
Well, I have another question about this. So I live in Northern California right now, and affordable housing in my area is the most controversial public policy issue by far. Is it that way in the Midwest where you are?
Yeah, it really is in any community. I don't know if I would say it's always controversial. Well, actually, yeah, it's pretty much always controversial. I would say, you know, in your region, I do have some, you know, view lines to the kind of challenges that the whole state of California has, but particularly the Bay Area. You know, what we call affordable housing is not necessarily inexpensive housing. And, you know, in areas like California and some of our stronger markets, I lived in Boston for a while, you know, you can easily see price points that, you know, they're just shocking what it costs to develop a unit of affordable housing. So sometimes that makes it a point of controversy. There's always some trepidation or fear around what, you know, making room in a community for folks that can't afford a market rate of rent, you know, what that means for the community. And so that sometimes is a point of controversy. And then, you know, it's usually the case that the debate around affordable housing has undercurrents of racism and classism that just, you know, it's easy to talk about rents and affordability as that's more easily to discuss it in those terms than it is to actually name what the fears actually are rooted in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I live in a, as you know, a fairly, well, our community likes to think of itself as being very progressive. But the, you know, and we are vastly in need of affordable housing in Madison. But the NIMBY question, you know, continues to exist, and it comes up time and again, even among people who accuse people in other neighborhoods of being
exactly. Yeah, there's a reason why it's, you know, not in my backyard, right? There's almost every sentence at a public hearing around affordable housing will start, you know, with, you know, I'm normally supportive of affordable housing, but in this case, right? You know, but we are seeing real change in that regard too, I would say, because, you know, just the economic conditions. I mean, in Marnie's, you know, corner of the world, more and more people with higher and higher incomes just really can't afford to live in the communities that they work in. Even in modest communities here, you know, in Minnesota and across the Midwest, we're seeing employers come out to say, hey, you know what? We can't even hire the folks we need, even, you know, white collar employees, which used to be you felt pretty safe, right? You know, we can't hire those folks either because there just isn't enough housing that's affordable at different price points in our communities. And so we're seeing more and more people understand that access to affordable housing is actually an economic development issue as well as for, you know, some of us a social justice issue.
And do you develop any workforce housing?
Sure. You know, this is part of that kind of range I was talking about. So, you know, some of the price points of our rents don't actually feel all that affordable depending on, you know, who you ask. We do, you know, we really pick up at one end of the spectrum. You know, once people have an ability to live independently with some level of support, that's where we pick up, right? So we don't provide transitional housing or temporary shelter. We're really at that point where people can start to call a place a home in a permanent way, but at very affordable price points. So, you know, for instance, in our senior housing, you know, the average annual income really is, you know, it's like $16,000. It means that people really have only Social Security to support themselves. But we go all the way up to, you know, what we would call a modest market rate rental. And that's really serving folks who are, you know, the essential workers right now under COVID, right? So if you're, say, for instance, a bus driver, if you're a personal care attendant, a lot of nurses would qualify, frankly, you know, and depending on the affluence in the community we're serving, like in Minneapolis, in the greater Minneapolis area, we're serving folks who are making, 60% of area median income, which for a family of 4 this year is like $60,000. So this, this really does capture a lot of that, modest income earning workforce that's really important for our communities.
Well, I have a comment. I want to welcome everyone who's watching. We have more than 10 people watching right now, but I do have a comment for you, a compliment for you from Heather, but I don't know which Heather it is. I love Deidre, destined for greatness. I don't know how this is working, but it's Heather Thorson. Thorson says, but she doesn't look the same without her Frankie Says Relax shirt.
Frankie, say relax now. Come on, Marnie.
No, let's get it straight here. Sadly, it had to be retired. It now, in and of itself, houses several families. I don't know if everyone remembers, but those shirts were always like super huge.
Yes.
Like extra, extra, extra large. The bigger, the better. Yeah, I no longer have that shirt, but I have such fond memories. I'm glad Heather shares those memories.
Yeah, so thinking back on your time in high school and shortly thereafter, were there certain, I guess, life experiences or things in your background as a child that maybe guided you into this line of work? I mean, Marnie asked me in the first week, did you think you were going to become a journalist even when you worked on the school paper? And that was not in my mind at all back then.
I mean, I did not know that real estate development existed as a career. It was not on my radar at all. But as I got into the work and exposed to it, I just really found it fascinating. I thought it was great that you could do this complicated work that required this, orchestration of so many people and agendas. And then not only that, but it impacts, the form of a city for who knows how long, right? Potentially well past my lifetime. Think of the buildings that we have still in our communities today that, are hundreds of years old. And so that idea that it really shaped cities, and that when the development also is housing, it also has the most intimate impact, in people's lives and communities' lives, in generation after generations lives and prosperity. I just thought, wow, how did I not know this existed? This is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And but I will say, now that I'm older and I have more to reflect on, I look back at my own life and I look at how, my dad died when I was really young and my mom moved us to Hopkins, right? She found an apartment in the best school district she could afford. And I got incredible opportunities based on that access that housing provided to me. And so when I think back now about how different my life could have been had had my mom not been in a position to make that choice, had we been a family of color, or if we had been paying for our rent with Section 8, we might not have gotten that access. I might not have gotten to graduate from Hopkins High School. So I feel really great to be able to, to give back a little bit to others some of the opportunity that I got.
Well, we have a question from the Peanut Gallery.
Yes.
And some more compliments for you. There are some compliments on your singing back in high school, and the question is, do you still sing?
I sing in the car with my husband, and every time I start singing along with the radio, he'll turn the radio up. So apparently, my only current audience does not report favorably on my remaining talents. I love to sing, and I miss the opportunity to do it.
What do you like to sing? What kind of music?
A lot of 80s tunes, right?
Yeah.
Just really anything. Just really anything.
Deidre, you sang at high school commencement, right? You performed at high school.
Yeah.
Do you have memories of that? Because that must have been pretty amazing, taking the stage at Northrop Auditorium. Do you remember that at all?
That is actually oftentimes, you know, in icebreaker sessions, they'll say, you know, like name something that nobody knows about, or like, you know, say something that's true and something that's false, and people are supposed to guess. And I usually throw I have performed live on stage at Northrop Auditorium in there, because no one will believe it usually. That was really fun. It was a really great way, you know, it was an ensemble, remember?
Yeah.
And it just felt really great, a great way to kind of sign off of high school years, to be able to perform with so many people who had way more talent than I did. And it just felt really lovely. It was just so great, really fun.
Okay, I'm throwing in, I'm going to
Go ahead,
throw
Marnie.
random trivia. Jason has been stumping us with his trivia all month.
Okay.
But I have a trivia question for both of you, which doesn't really have to do with learning or teachers. But my question is, do you remember the name of the 1980s most popular hairspray or hair gel?
Aquanet.
Yes, ding ding, bravo. And hair gel.
What was the gel? Oh, I can see it.
Dippity-doo, I'm going to say dippity-doo.
Yes. Okay, very good. I did not stump you. Thank you. That was my trivia of the week.
Oh, okay.
That's
That
good.
was way easier than I thought. I thought you were going to ask me to like name a teacher or something, and I just was going to embarrass myself.
Do you think
My
about
embarrassing admission on hair product is when I started caring about what my hair looked like in high school. For a time, I used mousse, which was
What
an
brand?
interesting situation in my house with my father.
Style, right? You can't really take that for granted anymore.
No, right.
Well, this came up because my teenager was, you know, this week she requested her first hair gel, hair mousse, and hair spray because she's so bored. And we, you know, she was just overwhelmed with the product choice, but we had none of the 80s products available here in California.
So much hair. That's all I remember is just so much hair.
And do you have a teacher that you have very fond memories of from high school?
Mr. Mossberg.
How come?
I just thought he was so funny and sassy, and he always spoke to students, including myself, as if we were adults. He gave us a lot more credit for knowing about the world than we probably deserved, but it felt really validating. And he just had a great sense of humor, and I don't think he probably censored a ton actually, but you know, he always kind of gave students credit for having adult sensibilities in their humor, and I enjoyed that. And his classes were just, you know, he really challenged us, I thought, in a great way. It was really fun.
Have you done any teaching?
Yes, I have taught at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard, and I'm currently on the faculty list for the Humphrey Institute here in Minneapolis. That's a totally different thing though, you know, teaching graduate level students as a practitioner in a field. It's kind of the non-academia exposure to academia, non-academic exposure to academia.
That's good though. I mean, being on a college campus, I feel like is a privilege anytime, even if you're dealing primarily with graduate students. But it's such a, you know, mentally stimulating place to be, and you have to be on your toes, even if you're dealing with undergrads. It's great.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Have you done any teaching, Jason?
Nothing long term, but because we're so close to the University of Wisconsin, we're often called in to have, you know, work on projects or just give talks and Q&As with other guys.
I wanted to welcome everyone again to this show. There's about 15 people watching live, and we're monitoring the chat room. So if you have comments or questions, please type them. This is your show too, and we don't want to dominate the conversation.
We should point out that Kyle Hansen, one of the great archivists from our class, has posted video on my Facebook live feed of the entire 1988 graduation ceremony. So I will share this with the world so that you can all see what Deidre's hairstyle looked like on early summer night. All right, are you ready for more trivia, Deidre?
Yes.
Okay, so not only are you the first, our first woman guest on KHOP88, but you're our first Gatewood guest. So I have Gatewood trivia for you.
Okay. I was only there 1 year, remember?
Yeah, but hopefully it stuck with you here.
Okay.
We'll see how good you are.
Oh.
All right, Gatewood Elementary School.
Yeah.
What was the mascot for Gatewood Elementary?
Oh, it's an alligator.
Yeah, but it wasn't the Gatewood Alligators.
The Gatewood Gators.
There we go. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, good. 1 for 1. That's good. All right, so this one might be trickier. We were in 6th grade at Gatewood together. There were 3 teachers, all of them men, which I think was pretty remarkable.
Which was the coolest thing at the time.
Right. Can you name all 3, or can you name any of them?
I can see their faces, and I can't come up with a single name.
What do they look
Who
like?
was your homeroom in 6th grade? You don't remember even his name?
I don't.
I'll start from least popular
Okay.
to most popular.
In whose estimation?
In my own estimation. My mother also worked at Gatewood for many years, so maybe
She knew the score. She knew who was really most popular. Flanagan. That was one of them, right? No?
You're thinking of the most popular, I think, and his name was Fugelstead.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Fugelstead. I should have fact checked this. Fugelstead, and the least popular was Mr. Weger.
I had Mr. Weger.
Big
The
beard.
beard.
I learned to appreciate him. He was
One.
a little dry. And then Kafkas,
Kafkas.
who was Marnie, our 6th grade, we performed puppet shows.
That's Grease.
Mr. Kafkas had a puppet theater.
Oh, exciting.
Do you remember that, Deidre?
Yes, we did a production of Grease with puppets. I remember that quite well, actually.
It again was one of these moments in time, I feel like, where we were so lucky, because I just don't think that teachers have any space to do that kind of thing anymore.
Oh no. Yeah, that was really pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead, Marnie.
oh no, I was going to go back to the present time. So when you're not working and you're not singing in the car, what are you doing with your free time?
Free time.
Yeah.
I like to cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I used to run a lot more, but I had a cycling accident in 2013 that I still run a little bit, but not like I did before. So so I like to swim, bike, run. Like to spend time with my husband and my dogs. Be outside as much as I can. Last night we were at Lake Calhoun windsurfing, which, speaking of the 80s, that's kind of an 80s sport that doesn't exist many places anymore, but that's been really fun to do. What else?
Where do you like to, what's your favorite bike ride in the Twin Cities?
Well, I ran into Heather Thorson a couple of years ago, reacquainted with her when I was out in Stillwater. There's a great trail. I can literally get on the river road by my house and bike all the way on trails only right into downtown Stillwater, which is really cool. If you haven't done it, do it. And they just opened up the old lift bridge that used to be where all that vehicular traffic would go into Stillwater, and it was always like a total nightmare traffic jam. Well, now that's pedestrian and bike only. And there's also a connection with the new Highway 36 bridge, so you can go into Stillwater, do this lovely ride, and go on the lift bridge. So we did that this weekend. It was really fun. That's one of my favorite rides.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Heather. This is a good time, since we have so many people watching, to remind people of our next guests. So Heather Thorson and Patty Hegre are going to come on together on July 14th, which I'm excited about. On June 30th, our guidance counselor Ramon Reyna will be here. Our intention was just to interview alum, but we thought we'd make a special exception for Ramon. On June 23rd, Tony Ceruno, and then next week we have Jennifer Reeder, who lives in my county, and Nat McIntyre.
Cool.
Yeah.
We should do a little roll call here for people who are watching. Chad Alt has returned. Heather, of course, Thorson is here. Jenny Anderson is with us again. Jim Sexton, subject of last week, has decided to come back. Kathy Cheetah has made a debut appearance in the chat. We remember Kathy. Tony Ceruno's here. And a member of class of '89. I mean, I guess we're just going to have to allow this, but yes. Lee Rydeski Engdahl is in the chat. So welcome to all of you for coming. I hope others are watching on Facebook. I see some Madison rabble-rousers in here, but also Kyle Hansen obviously has joined. So it's been super fun to be able to get together with these people. Deidre, did you have any questions for us or anything you wanted to share that we didn't get to tonight?
I want to know, what is the thing that you both miss most about the Twin Cities?
Well, my parents still live there, so we go back a few times a year, and the place that we always end up for some reason is Bryant Lake Bowl, which, I mean, I don't, it goes back in my family. My dad used to bowl there when he lived in that neighborhood, and he used to bowl there when he was, 8, 9, 10 years old. So I really love that. And I guess one of the things that I miss, although I didn't ever really experience it, but this revolution of microbreweries and how they've revitalized little neighborhoods. So discovering those is really fun to do. I wish I could do that more often.
And distilleries now too, not just breweries.
Wow. Marnie.
Well, I was thinking about what you were saying about home and place, and I haven't visited Minneapolis for many, many years. I did make an exception for the last reunion, but I really miss when I was back for the first time maybe in 20 years, just being in the place of my birth and growing up. It caused a flood of memories about who I am and what that place means to me. So I would say it reminds me of my childhood and who I am, in a place of like being grounded a little bit, as opposed to, I've lived on the East Coast and the West Coast and moved around a lot. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah. I lived in Boston for a while, and it felt, when I moved back, I was worried that I would feel, constrained somehow. And I have really enjoyed being back. It's felt really good. And like you said, it feels, it's almost like it's not an emotion or an intellectual thing. It's more kind of almost instinctual. It's weird, but it feels good.
Well, my Minnesotan accent comes out sometimes when there's enough Minnesotans around. So that's one of those things that's like ingrained and then just explodes, and people are like, why are you talking like that? And it's because I'm from Minnesota, of course. So.
It's a party trick, E.
Now, whenever I'm in a group and discover, I've shared this on other episodes of this one with Marnie as well. There's an alarming number of people who live in Madison who went to Hopkins High School at different eras, and I'm now known as being super obnoxious. Whenever someone in our group, I learn that they're from Minnesota, then it devolves into this whole, where did you grow up? Where did your parents still live there? You still go back? What do you like? We're just insufferable, I guess. I'll live with it. It's fine.
Well, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. Jason is posting recorded videos, these videos recorded on YouTube. So if you want to ever see this episode again or send it to someone who's missed it live, that'll be there.
Yeah, and Deidre, thank you very much for joining us. It was great to catch up with you and learn about what you're up to.
Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate being invited to visit with you, and I can't wait to learn more about where so many other people have ended up and what they've ended up doing. And so I really appreciate you guys doing this. It's a really nice gift you're giving everybody.
Okay, see you again. Maybe next time you'll sing. We'll have a musical show.
Heather can play piano, and you can find Jennifer Goforth and Amber Sen, and we'll sing.
Okay,
Sure.
I hear that. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Join us next week for Jen Ryder and Nat McIntyre. We'll talk about martial arts.
Yeah, that's so cool. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.